All right, these are my Week 15 NFL Power Rankings. I'm not exactly sure what was going on with my audio the last time, so this is like my third time recording this video. So if I don't talk a lot, it's just because I've already been talking for way too long. But yeah, I'm also going to talk about some playoff implications for this week's game, so I might ramble on a little bit there at the end. But yeah, getting started for my injuries here. You guys can look at this mostly yourself. I do want to mention Aiden O'Connell's injured for the Raiders, potentially for the season. Derek Carr is going to be injured for the Saints, potentially for the season as well. Look at the top performances. You guys can kind of look at this mostly yourself here. Getting started here, we're going to go with the Raiders at number 32. They're not very good. They lost this week 28-13 versus the Bucks, and then lost Aiden O'Connell. So now Desmond Ridder's their quarterback, and he's not very good. Number 31, New York Giants, 14-11 loss to the Saints. They lost by 3 to the Saints, put up 11 points. Not good there. Drew Lock's also injured, so now Tommy DeVito's their quarterback, and he's also not very good. Number 30, Tennessee Titans, 3-10, lost to the Jaguars, 10-6. Will Levis, quarterback, put up 6 points. He's not very good. 29 is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They did beat the Titans 10-6. Like I just said, Mac Jones, their quarterback, he's not very good, but he got a win this week against Will Levis, so they got to go up a couple of spots. Number 28, New England Patriots at 3-10. They didn't have a game this week. They were on bye. They also cut wide receiver KJ Osborne. Not really sure what's going on with that. I thought he was a decent receiver. I'm not really sure how he's been doing this year, but I know historically he's been at least a solid receiver. But yeah, 27 Carolina Panthers. The 3-10. They lost 22-16 versus the Eagles, but they did play a pretty solid game. Bryce Young looked pretty good in this game. They almost won. If Xavier Legette did not drop that potential game-winning touchdown pass, they very well could have beat that Eagles team. 26, New Orleans Saints sitting at 5-8. They got a good win versus the Giants this week, but they lost Derek Carr to injury, so I am actually dropping them one spot, even though they did win. 25, Chicago Bears. They're going to drop one spot after getting blown out by the 49ers, 38-13. Now sitting at 4-9. Number 24, New York Jets sitting at 3-10 there. They lost to the Dolphins 32-26. So in overtime. So a good loss for them, moves them up a couple of spots actually. 23, Cleveland Browns are going to drop one spot. They lost 27-14 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. A decent game. They didn't get blown out or anything, but again, it wasn't necessarily close either. 22, Dallas Cowboys. They ended up losing 27-20 versus the Bengals on Monday Night Football, but it wasn't a horrible game for them. 7-point loss. They had a blunder at the end with that, muffed blocked punt. Don't really see that very often. But yeah, they're gonna actually jump up one spot here. 21, Atlanta Falcons. They're gonna drop 4 spots, sitting at 6-7. Kirk Cousins has been one of the worst quarterbacks of all time in the last month. He has 0 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions in his last 4 games. That is atrocious, and they have lost all 4 of those games. Number 20, Indianapolis Colts had a bye this week, but they are going to jump up one spot there ahead of the Falcons. Number 19 is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to drop 5 spots. They lost 30-18 versus the Seahawks, and their playoff chances are looking slim now after that loss. Number 18, 49ers here are going to jump up 2 spots. They're 6-7. They dominated the Bears 38-13 without Christian McCaffrey and without Jordan Mason. Isaac Guerendo, their third running back, played really well this week. 17, Cincinnati Bengals are going to jump up 2 spots, sitting now 5-8. Had a good win 27-20 versus the Dallas Cowboys. Number 16, Miami Dolphins are going to jump up 2 spots, sitting here at 6-7. A good 32-26 overtime win against the Jets. They're going to move them up a couple of spots, and their playoff hopes are still alive. Number 15, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, sitting at 7-6 right now. They had a good win this week against the Raiders, 28-13, but they did lose Antoine Winfield to injury for at least a couple of weeks. Hopefully he's back for the playoffs if they happen to make it there. Number 14, Houston Texans. They're going to drop 1 spot. They were on bye this week, but I'm just going to drop them 1 spot because of the number 13 Los Angeles Rams, who are 7-6 and beat the Bills 44-42. So I got to jump them up a couple of spots here. Absolutely insane game here 86 total points. I believe they said there were 0 turnovers as well. So absolutely crazy game here this week. Number 12, Los Angeles Chargers, the other LA team here, sitting at 8-5. They're going to drop 2 spots. They had a 19-17 loss versus the Kansas City Chiefs on a game-winning field goal from Matthew Wright, which doinked in off of the upright. Very Chiefs way to win, and very Chargers-esque way to lose, given their history, but not necessarily a Jim Harbaugh Chargers way to lose. Number 11, Washington Commanders, sitting at 8-5 here. They had a bye this week, so they're not going to move really at all this week. Number 10, Seattle Seahawks, jumping up 2 spots after beating the Arizona Cardinals 30-18. Now sitting at 8-5 with a 1-game lead over the Rams now in their division, and they do control their destiny there. Number 9 is going to be the Denver Broncos, sitting at 8-5. They had a bye this week as well, and they got a very important matchup here against the Colts this week. Number 8, Green Bay Packers, sitting at 9-4 for them. They had a 34-31 loss versus the Lions, so a 3-point loss against the Lions is a good game for the Packers. So I'm not really going to fault them here. They stay exactly where they were. Number 7, Baltimore Ravens at 8-5. They had a bye this week as well, so I'm going to move on. Number 6, Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to drop 1 spot, sitting at 10-3. They had a good win against the Browns, 27-14, but they dropped just 1 spot because of the Minnesota Vikings, who I think are going to jump up 1 spot here, now sitting at 11-2. They dominated the Falcons 42-21. I thought that win was a little more impressive than the Steelers win, so I flip-flopped them there. Number 4, Buffalo Bills. They've already clinched their division a while ago, like 2 weeks ago, I think. But they're going to drop 3 spots here this week after losing to the Rams 44-42. The Rams have been pretty good. The record doesn't show it, but I think the Rams are better than the record. So the Bills don't really drop too much for this loss, but they do have to drop at least a couple of spots. Number 3, Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Chargers 19-17 on a very Chiefs-esque way to win. Doinking in a field goal is a new thing. I haven't seen that in a long time. Their black magic is definitely working. I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's working somehow. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to jump up 1 spot here as well after beating the Panthers 22-16. Again, it was not a very impressive win for the Eagles, a 6-point win versus the Panthers, but the Panthers also only lost to the Chiefs by 3. And I didn't really fault the Chiefs too much for that, so I can't really fault the Eagles here for barely beating the Panthers as well. Panthers have actually been pretty good the last few weeks, even if they're not getting wins. And then number 1, of course, is going to be the Lions. They're going to jump back up to number 1 ahead of the Bills because the Bills happen to lose. Lions and Bills play each other this week. That's going to be an insane game to watch. But yeah, the Lions beat the Packers 34-31 this week. Getting into my game picks, I'm actually going to skip past this. I'm going to come back to the game picks, and I'll talk about the playoff implications. But that's probably going to take a little bit to explain. So I'm going to move on to my award races. So if you want to look at this first, then you can go back. Like if you don't care to hear about my playoff implications, you can just look at this and then look at that screenshot and then be done with the video. But I am going to go back now and explain my game picks here. Los Angeles Rams over the Niners. I think that the Rams should win this game. I don't know why the Niners are the favorite, but this is very, very important for the playoffs. If the Niners lose this game, they're going to be most likely eliminated. If the Rams win this game, the Rams currently control their own destiny. If they win out and they play the Seahawks in Week 18, where they would have the tiebreaker there, the Rams win out, they win their division. So this win, obviously, very important for the Niners. If they lose, they're likely eliminated. Obviously, very important. Chiefs-Browns, not important for the Browns. Chiefs currently have a 2-game lead over the Steelers and Bills. They also play the Steelers this year as well. It's probably not going to be very likely for them to not be the 1 seed at this point with a 2-game lead over those teams. But a win against the Browns certainly helps their odds. Ravens-Giants. Ravens should beat the Giants pretty handily. They need this win. They're currently alive in their division. I believe they have a game against the Steelers left. Yeah, they do. They play the Steelers next week. Very, very possible that the Steelers lose to the Eagles this week, and then the Steelers lose to the Ravens next week, and then all of a sudden the Ravens are now the 2 seed or the 3 seed probably here in the NFL. So they want to win their division certainly, and a win against the Giants definitely helps them. It also helps them out to be the 5 seed for a wild card rather than the 6 or 7 because they're currently tied with the Chargers and Broncos. Commanders over Saints. Saints should not win this game without Derek Carr. I believe they're starting Jake Haener, so if the Commanders lose, that's pretty sad. They also need to win because they only have a 1-game lead over the Rams now for that last wild card spot. So they really cannot afford to drop any of these games. Dolphins, Texans. Both these teams are certainly alive. Texans don't really have much to worry about. They have a 2-game lead over the Colts for their division. And I don't foresee them losing that many games. They do have a tough schedule with the Dolphins, Chiefs, and Ravens the next 3 weeks. And the Colts actually have a pretty easy schedule with the Titans, Giants, and Jags after the Broncos this week. So it's certainly possible that the Texans end up actually losing their division here to the Colts. But even if they do that, they still have a shot for that last wild card spot. But they have to at least get 1 win to have a chance for that wild card spot if they do lose their division. For the Dolphins, if they lose this week, they're probably eliminated from the playoffs officially. Next up would be the Bengals Titans. Bengals are technically alive, but not really, so I don't got to talk too much about this, but they should not lose this game to the Titans either way. Jets and Jaguars, I mean, both these teams are eliminated. This game does not matter. The Jets also should not lose this game to Mac Jones. That'd be pretty sad for Aaron Rodgers. Panthers, Cowboys. Panthers technically have a shot in their division. Not likely, like, at all. Cowboys technically have a shot for that last wildcard spot, but again, not very likely at all. The loser of this game is eliminated. Officially, the winner of this game also probably going to be eliminated if one of the other teams win. But yeah, Panthers over the Cowboys. First time the Panthers have been a favorite since December of 2022. First time Bryce Young has been favored to win an NFL game. So that is interesting to think about there. Colts Broncos. Very, very important here. If the Colts lose this game, they're probably going to be eliminated from the playoffs. They still would have a shot, like technically, if they did end up winning out being 9-8. But they have a better shot to win their division at 9-8 than they do to make a wild card spot at 9-8. So this loss versus the Broncos certainly lessens their chances quite a bit to make the playoffs. If they win, they're only 1 game back from the wild card, and potentially only 1 game back from their division if the Texans lose to the Dolphins. Next up would be the Lions and the Bills. The Lions win this game. Obviously that would help them with their chances to be the number 1 seed. If they lose, they're going to be battling with the Eagles and Vikings, potentially to even drop down to the 5 seed below them. And the Buffalo Bills, they're currently 2 games behind the Chiefs right now, so that looks unlikely that they would catch them. But they're also tied with the Steelers at both 10-3, so they really cannot afford to lose a game here because that could potentially drop them down to the 3 seed, which obviously they would rather be the number 2 seed. And next up for the Steelers Eagles, these 2 games here kind of coincide with each other. I mean, the Steelers affect the Bills and the Eagles affect the Lions, so very, very important. Kind of the same thing I just talked about for both of these teams, but the Steelers also very well could lose their division to the Ravens. They have a tough schedule with the Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs, and Bengals. While the Ravens have a fairly easy schedule with the Giants, they have the Steelers and Texans, but they have the Giants and Browns at least, which are 2 easy wins. And of course, if they beat the Steelers, well, the Steelers have 4 hard games on their schedule. Patriots, Cardinals. Patriots eliminated. Cardinals, they could win their division still. Could be a wild card spot still potentially there as well. But they would definitely need to win over the Patriots in order to do so. Chargers over Bucks. I mean, the Bucks certainly, this could be a very, very fun game. Very important for both of these teams' playoff chances. Chargers, 2-game lead over the Colts and Dolphins for that last spot. If they lose this game, potentially they're only up by 1 against those teams, which would not be ideal because that makes things very, very risky and scary going forward for them. And the Buccaneers, if they lose this game, they could potentially lose control of their division to the Falcons. So obviously a win this week, helps them keep a cushion in their division. Packers, Seahawks. Packers are not really in danger of missing the playoffs. They currently have a 2-game lead over the Rams. I do not foresee them losing all these games. They play the Saints and Bears, so that they should at least win those 2 games, and that would pretty much lock up a postseason berth for them. But a loss this week certainly would make things a little bit murky, especially for the 6 versus 7 seed there with the Commanders, if not potentially also for that last wild card spot. And for the Seahawks, currently, have a 1-game lead in their division. They also end up playing the Rams later this season, who they'd be battling it out week 18 for the division title. But if they get a win this week, and the Rams happen to lose this week, they would be sitting pretty comfortable going forward. After this week, they do play the Vikings as well, which again, very, very tough game. They have a tough schedule, so they would really like to get a win this week over the Packers. I do not foresee that happening. Vikings over Bears. Bears are eliminated, I think. Maybe not officially, but they're pretty much eliminated. And the Vikings, I already talked about this a little bit earlier. They play the Lions in week 18, which could potentially be for the division. But in order for that to happen, they probably need to get a win over the Bears this week, which seems very likely for them. Falcons, Raiders. Falcons need this win. Very much help them catch up to the Bucs to take their division back. And they play the Raiders this week. I know Kirk Cousins has been pretty bad the last 4 weeks, but if he cannot beat Desmond Ridder, that would look very, very bad considering Desmond Ridder was the Falcons quarterback last year. I think that's going to be it for the video. You kind of already saw this here, so I'm going to skip ahead. And yeah, that is it for the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back next week for an updated power rankings list. Make sure to check out my NBA videos as well.